Good morning, everyone. This is Chris on IMTN Worldwide Radio, and this is Around the ATL Side Notes. This morning at 3:30 in the morning, I decided to go ahead and do this show, even though I've been up for quite a while now. I said, no, I'm determined. We're going to get through this. So thanks for everybody who might tune in this morning, later on this morning, early afternoon, tonight or tomorrow this weekend, whenever you get a chance to watch. I appreciate it. Make sure if you want to comment, though, make sure you hit the comment section. And don't forget, even if you watch this after the fact, when you get to a certain point in the show, you can still comment, and I will respond as soon as I can. Before I get started, I do need to do some housekeeping, of course. Of course, subscribe to the IMTN Worldwide Radio page on YouTube when you get a chance. I appreciate that. Make sure you share it with at least one other person that enjoys Atlanta sports. You can also, as you can see on the ticker down there, follow on IMTN Worldwide Radio on Facebook or Instagram. Why is that ticker? It's supposed to do that. See, it's already too late. I'm messing up already. You can also follow on Twitter, Intellect ATL and Jordan23 ATL. Right now, my co-host Jordan Jackson's not been available for the last few months. He's helping his mom as she battles cancer. So that's why I've been doing the Around the ATL Side Note episodes and kind of focusing on the Atlanta Hawks because it's a little easier doing just one sport rather than all of them. Because guess what? Around the ATL, we got Hawks, Falcons, Braves, Atlanta United, Atlanta Dream, the new volleyball team, Atlanta Vibe. We do college sports, UGA, Georgia Tech, every now and the blue moon, Georgia State, Albany State, Clark, whoever it is. We do a little bit of high school sports when we get a chance to, but we do it all. But since, again, I've been single in this so far over the last couple of months, I decided let me just concentrate on the Hawks. It's easier. So that being said, don't forget, make sure if you're in the city of Atlanta and you want a comfortable ride, whether it be to the airport or you have a special meeting that you need to go to and you want to ride in style, or you need to go across the state because you have something important to go to, or maybe you want to go out of town to watch the Falcons play, make sure you hit up Southern Classic Transportation, have them mention Around the ATL. 404-291-0150 is their number. Make sure you give them a ring. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, before I get started, I do need to say this. I do have a little bit of a caveat to this particular episode. And if I can get this right, there we go. So where's my ticker? There it is. So I have talked about this subject before, and the title of this show is called Is Trae Young Really Unnecessary? Okay, as opposed to necessary. And in past episodes or articles that I've written or Facebook Lives or Facebook posts or Twitter posts or even on this show, I've talked about this in a myriad of different ways, but I always use actual information, whether it be the actual results of games or the games themselves, because that kind of counts, right? Because you can't change the outcome of the game. And when I do my game reviews, as I've been doing for the last few months, I show you shot for shot how the team against us actually scored against us. And the only reason I do it is because you have so many people out there who refuse to put any blame on anybody else except for one person. And the game of basketball will be forever 5-on-5. It's a team sport. There is no iteration of basketball that you see one player against five. One player against a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward in the center of the other team, and one player playing the second team, and one player playing the reserves. Correct? I am correct in that, correct? Anybody wants to let me know if there's a different version? I know there's a version of basketball where you kind of don't dribble the ball and there's no backboard to the hoop, but there's 5-on-5 in that too. Okay, so I want to just break it down. So I just want to say that. Also, opinion is not a fact. No matter how many times you say something, it doesn't make it true. Again, I'll use training day. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove, right? So at a certain point, you need to be able to show something to back up what you have to say instead of just saying it. I don't like just talking for the sake of talking. I know a lot of people do it. I know it's popular out there and just say wild, crazy stuff. But that's not me. I'm never going to just say stuff for the sake of, hey, I want everybody in the world to hear this crazy take or this crazy sentence structure or this verbiage that I know is just not true. And no, I'm not going to correct myself either after I say it. Because see, that's what people in the industry like to do. They just like to say things until they get sued, right? But I like to back up what I have to say, what I believe in. And by the way, you can change your opinion, you know. You don't have to, even though you might get bombarded by all kinds of things, you can change your mind about something. Do some research, do some reading, do some looking up, and all of a sudden you might have a different aspect to look at to say, you know what, you might be right about this. Now that I look at it like this, I'm seeing it for myself here. Now that we're slowing it down, because again, when you watch any kind of sport, it's you're not able to you're seeing certain subtleties and things of that nature until you actually break it down play by play without distractions. And now you see, wait a minute, shoot, he's just standing there. Like Luka tonight. Luka and John Collins. Luka just staring. He does this every game. He's not a good defender. Everybody knows it, but now it's like people are actually looking at it now because of the finals. Even though they put some good players around him to help them mitigate that, and their defense did get better with PJ and Gafford being there. It wasn't enough to go up against the Boston Celtics, of course. But at the end of the day, this is what he is as well. But now finally people are actually starting to say, okay, well, man, they can only score but so many points. And if they're off, you know, this is going to come up. But anyway, that being said, I'm going to skip that part because I really don't want to talk. Well, I'll talk about it. You look at that Luka play and you see John Collins is standing there just waiting for the ball, basically. And Luka never turns on him. That was his man. Stuff like that happens with the Hawks all the time, and no one says anything about all the other players that happens to, but they just want to try to key in on Trae Young, even though he's not the one giving up all the points every night. And I've proved this through multiple games that I've shown over the last few months. And I've shown over 17, 18 games, I guess now. Game film. To show, and at the end of it, I show you, here's who actually scored all the points, who gave up all the points. Here's how it happened. Here's the breakdown. It's not hard. I'm not making this up. I'm just telling you what's happening on the court now. So you're allowed to change your mind if you choose to look. Now, if you don't choose to look, nothing I can do about that. But you can't just keep saying the crazy stuff without being able to back it up. And that's what tonight is about. Is Trae Young really unnecessary? It's going to be, I want people at the end to answer that question if you get through this, okay? So, and I'm probably going to try to take a break sometime or another. We'll see how this works out. I'll play a commercial or something. We'll see. But before I get started, I want to give some examples of some players. I want you to tell me, who do you prefer? These players I'm about to mention, I'm not mentioning names. I'm just going to give you playoff numbers for these 6 people, okay? And you make your own silent determination on who you would prefer. And again, you can comment if you want to. I'll try to answer as I go through this. All right. Player number 1. He averaged 19.5 points a game in the playoffs, 12 assists a game, 12.3. Shot 50% from the floor, 24% from three. Player 2 averaged 22.7 points a game in the playoffs, 6.4 assists, shot 43% from the floor, 34% from three. Third player averaged 26.4 points a game in the playoffs, 9 assists, shot 40% from the floor, 29% from three. The fourth player averaged 17.5 points a game, 9.3 assists, shot 47% from the floor and 36% from three. The fifth player averaged 26.4 points a game in the playoffs, 2.6 assists, shot 43% from the floor and 24% from three. And the sixth player averaged 17.3 points a game in the playoffs, 8.8 assists, shot 47% from the floor and 40% from three. Now, out of those six players so far, just from what I've told you, who would you want more to be able to lead your team to possible victory in the playoffs? Playoff series, first round, second round, Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals, and so on. Any of those, you have a preference? I'm not finished yet. One of these players have 4 appearances in the conference finals in their history. One of these players have 10 appearances in the conference finals in their history. One of these players has 2 appearances. Another one has 1. Another one has 0. And another one has 4. Now, again, I didn't do these in any particular order, but who would you prefer? You have an idea yet? Who would you pick? The guy with the 19.5 points a game average, the ones with 26, the ones with 17, the ones averaging 12 assists a game, 9 assists, 6 assists, 2 assists. Anybody? Let me name off who these are. The first one was Magic Johnson. He averaged 19.5 points a game and 12 assists in the playoffs. The second person was James Harden, 22 a game, 6 assists in the playoffs for his career, playoffs. Shot 43% from the floor. Third person was Trae Young, 26.4 points, 9 assists in the 3 playoff appearances he's had so far in his young career. The fourth person was CP3, 17.5 points, 9 assists. The fifth person was Dominique Wilkins, 26 a game. Now, he does average a few more rebounds, obviously. I couldn't give that away. The last person was Steve Nash, 17 points a game, 8.8 assists in the playoffs. Interesting, right? Now, out of all those players, there's only one who has a ring. He has 5 of them. But think about who he had on those rosters for the 13 seasons he was an LA Laker. 10 conference final appearances, 5 championships. But think about, who James Harden has always had around him at one point in time. He's had some pretty doggone decent players around him, right? So has Chris Paul. So has Steve Nash. Steve Nash got to play with Dirk and Amari Stoudemire. And I've done a show about that, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Dominique Wilkins, not so much. He's the only one out of this group who hasn't appeared in a conference final before. Sad as that is. That's amazing, isn't it? Trae Young has his 1 appearance in his 3rd season as a Hawk. Let's talk about Dominique Wilkins a little bit more. Let's dive deeper because, Dominique has a statue in front of State Farm Arena. His banner is up there in the rafters, right? But Dominique Wilkins has never won an NBA Finals with the Hawks. He's never won a conference final with the Hawks. He played 12 years in Atlanta. 8 out of those 12 years, they were in the playoffs. Dominique didn't win an MVP, but he has a statue in front of State Farm Arena. Must have thought something about him to do that, right? He does have a scoring title. He does have the 2 slam dunk championships. We know it's supposed to be 3, but he got robbed. Sorry, Michael Jordan, right? Let's talk his teams. 1985 playoffs. Dominique Wilkins was averaging 28 a game in that particular playoff series. For the playoffs, let me retract that. I'm going by playoff series, so all the playoff games for that particular season. Okay, so Dominique averaged 28 a game. Randy Whitman was averaging 17 a game. Kevin Willis was averaging 13. Doc Rivers 12. Spud 12. They actually beat the Pistons in the first round, 3-1, but then got beat by the Celtics. They only won 1 game, 4-1. They lost that. The Celtics went on to win the NBA Finals that particular year. 1986, Dominique was averaging 26 a game in the playoffs. Willis was averaging 15, Randy Whitman 16. Doc Rivers, not that great this time, 7 points. Antoine Carr, 11 points. They actually beat the Pacers in the first round, 3-1, but then lost to the Pistons, 4-1. 1987, Dominique was averaging 31 points in the playoffs. Kevin Willis, 16, Doc, 15. Randy, 11, Spud, 8. They actually beat the Bucks 3-2, but then lost to the Celtics 4-3 in the second round. 1988, Dominique averaged 27 points in the playoffs. Moses Malone was on the team at this point now. He was averaging 21. Old man Moses. Rest in peace. John Contract, 12 points a game. Doc Rivers, 13. John Battle. I know y'all love some John Battle, right? 8 points a game. They lost to the Bucks in the first round, 3-2. 1989, they did not qualify for the playoffs. That regular season, though, Dominique was averaging 26. Moses Malone was averaging 18. Doc was averaging 12. Willis, 12. And John Battle, 10. These teams in the 80s were going up against the legacy Celtics, Pistons, Bulls, Knicks, Bucks, Cavs. Y'all know the Eastern Conference was the beast of the East for a reason, right? And for a period of time, the Hawks could compete in the regular season against these teams. But when it went to the playoffs, now things get narrowed down a lot. And whoever has the most talent is definitely going to overcome obstacles and win more than lose. The Hawks never made it out of the second round while Dominique Wilkins was playing. So I'm just throwing it out there. If Trae Young is unnecessary, well, wouldn't Dominique Wilkins be just as unnecessary then? Because he didn't win anything with the Atlanta Hawks. If that's the format, if that's the qualifications of actually appreciating a player in your city who is actually pretty doggone good. Remember, Dominique Wilkins retired, I believe, off the top of my head again. I'm tired. 8th all-time in scoring. He's still top 15 all these years later. He hasn't played in a long time, right? Averaging 26 a game in the playoffs. Nobody ever said anything about his shooting percentage in the playoffs because without Dominique, there are no playoffs, right? Ain't nobody ever said, oh, man, Dominique is shooting 24% from 3 and 42% from the floor. Man, Dominique. But he's going up against the Boston Celtics literally almost by himself, trying to have to score 30 and 40 points in a game just to maintain, just have a shot because we don't have enough. Remember, the averages are the averages. Lots of times, though, players aren't even hitting those averages. They're having one good game here and one bad game over here. Dominique is doing it every game, though. Oh, throw in the 76ers, too. Forgot about them. Right? But here's the other part of that with the Atlanta Hawks squad and Dominique Wilkins playing and doing everything he could to try to help his team win year after year. What did the Hawks do to try to improve any of those teams? Go back and look at the rosters from year to year, and you see that it's not really much of a change of any kind. Got Cliff Livingston and It's not great. The 60-win team of the Atlanta Hawks. Think about that squad. Think about the best players on that particular team. I've always said is Horford and Jeff Teague. And I've always said, and some of you who've been around for a while and you know me on around the ATL and things of that nature, you know that I've always said Jeff Teague should have been like a 24-12 guy, 24-10 at minimum, because he could do everything. He can get his own shot. He can get to the basket anytime he wants to. He can hit a jump shot. He can hit a three. He can hit his free throws. On defense, he's just as quick. He can take the ball from anybody. He can get back on defense. He can rebound. Why isn't he a 24-12 player? He should be dominant. Al Horford should be a 20-10 player. Same reasons. He can get his own shot. He can actually go to the basket. He can hit every shot on the floor. He can hit the three. He can hit jumpers. He can post up. He can hit free throws. And on defense, he can rebound. He can slide. He can rotate. He can block shots. But we never got those things from those two players. And it limited us. Because during the regular season is the regular season. But in the playoffs, you need somebody to really step up. And we get bits and pieces of it, but we needed it every game against the teams that we were going to be going up against, right? So in that Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavaliers, you had Kyle Korver averaging 11 points a game. You had Millsap averaging 15. You had Junkyard Dog, DeMar Carroll averaging 14.6. Jeff was getting 16.8. And Horford was 14.4, and Dennis was giving you 9 off the bench. We got swept. Game 1, Jeff did give us 27 points, 4 assists, 2 steals. Paul, 13 points. Horford, 16 and 7. Kyle Korver, 9 points. Carroll, 5 points. Bazemore gave us 10 off the bench. We lost that game 97-89 at home. Remember, we had home court advantage because we won 60 games. We had the best record. Game 2, Jeff went from 27 points to 12 points. He had a few more assists. He had 6 assists. Paul had 4 points. Horford had 12 and 6. Korver had 12. Carroll had 6. Dennis had 13 off the bench. We lost that game 94-82. Game 3, this was the only close game. Jeff gave us another 30-point night. 7 assists. Paul gave us a better game, 22 points. Kent started. He had 14. Carroll, 10. Horford, 14. And 4 boards. We still lose that game 114-111, though. Game 4. Jeff went from 30 points to 17 and 1 assist. Kent had 12. Paul, 16. Horford had 2 points and 2 rebounds. Carroll had 7. Shelvin Mack gave us 10 points off the bench, as did John Jenkins. So the Hawks get swept out the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, most regular teams out there, when they get to a conference final and they don't make it to the finals, most teams that are good, they do something to say, hey, we were close, man, but we weren't quite there. We need to do a little mixing and, stir up the pot and see if we can get there next year and then get over the hump. What did the Hawks do? Well, Tim Hardaway Jr., Captain Kurt Heinrich, Chris Humphreys, Thiago Splitter, Tabo, and we drafted the only the third 7-footer in Hawks history since 1986, Eddie Tavares. That's what we did. Now, of course, hindsight's 2020. But really, even on the surface, were those moves going to put us over the hump? Now, at the end of the day, that next season, we did beat the Celtics in the first round. But guess what? We got swept again by the Cavs in the second round. So, no, it didn't work. Jeff averaged 14 and 6 in that playoffs. Korver 10, Horford 13, Paul 16, and Kent 11. Wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. again, with going back to Dominique's teams, again, he played 8 of 12 seasons in the playoffs for the Hawks. We didn't do enough to get over the hump, but why? The mid-2000s teams, where, again, you had season after season of good seasons, but you couldn't get over the hump. Why? Right? We only have 2 conference finals in our modern era. That 60-win team and Trae's team. That's it. There's a lot of Hawks basketball in between all that, right? So remember the 2 teams before the 2020 season with the Hawks, and you had the Trash Brothers, and you just had this hosh posh of a roster or whatnot. Well, 2020, they did make some moves to say, okay, we got to fix this because we could be more competitive. We can do a little something. They actually did some things, right? We got Clint, we got Bogey, you got Gallo, you got Lou, you got Rondo, Solo, and it paid off. Not initially at first, but eventually it all kicked in, all started to click, and you saw the results, right? So in that particular year, that playoff where Trae Young basically started going off on folks, right? He averaged 28.8 points and 9.5 assists. Bogey was averaging 14, John 13.9, so basically 14. Clint 10 and 11, Kevin 11 points, Hunter 10.8 points, so kind of 11. Gallo 12.8 and Cam 12.8 for that playoff run. Okay, now remember though, Hunter doesn't play after the Knicks series. He was gone, right? So remember that as I go through this real quick. Let's see, I got a comment. A1 says, Chris, it's 4 a.m., man. Yes, it is. It certainly is. Can't be helped. Because I know I won't be able to do it later. And I want to get all this on the record. So, this is the first time Trae has ever been in the playoffs, okay? Game 1, 32 points, 10 assists. Unnecessary, apparently. Game 2, 30.7 assists. Game 3, 21 points, 14 assists. Game 4, 27 points, 9 assists. Game 5, 36 points, 9 assists. He took a bow, and we knock out the Knicks. Do we knock out the Knicks without Trae Young playing? Anybody can comment. You really believe that? Because Kevin had 8 points, 10 points, 10 points, 11 points, and 8 points. Hunter, 5 points, 18 points, 11 points, 5 points, 15 points. He had 2 5-point games in that series. Clint, 9 points, 13 boards, 4 points, 12 boards, 13 points, 12 boards, 10 points, 15 boards, 14 points, 15 boards. He helped out most of that series. John Collins, 12 and 7. Game 2, he didn't even score. Game 3, 14 and 6. Game 4, 22 and 8. Game 5, 13 and 7. Bogey had 18 in game 1, 18 in game 2, 15 in game 3, 12 in game 4. He also had 6 assists and 8 boards in that game. In game 5, he had 9 points. That was the Knicks series. Okay. The next series, of course, was Philadelphia. Now, this is one definitely. See, first of all, the Hawks weren't favored in that Knicks series. We weren't supposed to beat the Knicks. We definitely weren't supposed to beat Philly. They were the number 1 seed at the time. You got Joel Embiid. You got Ben Simmons before he crashed out, right? So there was no way in the world the Hawks were going to win. A1 says no. I'm going to try to keep it on the comments in case people check it out. So make sure you all subscribe to the IMTN Worldwide Radio page and share it with people. So the Philly series, remember, we win game 1, lost game 2, lost game 3, won game 4, won game 5, lost game 6, won game 7. So there's a lot going on there. Okay. Trae Young, game 1 at 35 and 10. Unnecessary, apparently, right? Game 2, 21 and 11. Game 3, 28 and 8. Game 4, 25 and 18. Game 5, 39 and 7. Game 6, 34 and 12. Game 7, 21 and 10. Now, what did everybody else do? So Kevin First game, had a good game, 15 points on some good shooting. Second game, he had 20 points. Third game, he had 3. Fourth game, he had 10. Fifth game, he didn't even score at all. So that's 3 straight games right there. He wasn't even really existing. Just lost my place. Game 6, he had 17. Of course, game 7, Kevin came about, 27 points. Remember, Hunter ain't playing now, though, right? John, 21 in the first game. He had 8 points, 10 boards in game 2, 23 and 7 in game 3, 14 and 12 in game 4, 19 and 11 in game 5, 7 and 10 in game 6, and 14 and 16 in game 7. So he contributed. Bogey, 21 in first game, 14 in the second, 19 in game 3, 22 in game 4. Game 5, he only had 6. Game 6, he only had 7. In game 7, he only had 4. So those last 3 games, Bogey wasn't around. So again, is Trae Young necessary? Do you win that series if Trae Young said, I'm not even going to shoot now. I'm definitely ain't even going to pass either. I'm just going to be out here. You saw these gaps here, right, of players of what happened in this series. This is what actually happened. Clint, 11 and 10 on the first game, 10 and 8 in the second, 8 and 16 in game 3. Game 4, 12 and 13. Game 5, 6 and 8. Game 6, 14 and 11. And then game 7, 13 and 6. Gallo, throw him in there a little bit, had 9 in the first game, 21 in game 2, 17 in game 3, 7 in game 4, 16 in game 5, 16 in game 6, and 17 in game 7. He's one of the reasons that helped out that we got Gallo as a veteran, right? Lou in game 5 had 15. I'll throw in a little Lou. But we beat the Philadelphia 76ers. You don't do that without Trae Young. He's necessary right there. The Bucks series, of course. First 4 games. Yeah, Bogey, first 4 games. So the Bucks series. Now, again, we should have beat the Bucks. We all know it. Nothing we can do about it, stupid referee. Right? But the Hawks won game 1, 116 to 113. Lose game 2, 125 to 91. Lose game 3, 113 to 102. Win game 4, 110 to 88. Then lose games 5, 123 to 112. And then game 6, 118 to 107. Right? So game 1, Trae opens up 48 and 11 right off the jump. Crazy. Right? Didn't do that well game 2, 15 and 9. Then 35 and 4 in game 3. And then, of course, the injury happened. He misses 4 and 5. Comes back, plays hurt, has 14 and 9. So Kevin in game 1 had 13 points. Game 2, he had 8. Game 3, he had 11. Game 4, 15 points on 1 of 7 from 3. Game 5, he had 8. Game 6, he was 3 of 12 from the floor for 6 points. Not a lot of help there. John, 23 and 15, 11 and 8, 13 and 8. Bogey, 4 points, 8 points, 8 points. Clint, 12 and 19, 2 points, 8 boards, 8 points, 11 boards. You get my drift. Like, you didn't really have a lot going on there. Because if we had a little bit, even with Trae coming back hurt, if you just had just one of those giving us a little bit of something, I still think we could have beat Milwaukee. Now, whether or not we could have beat the Suns, I still think we could have given the Suns everything they could handle. But at least we would have been there because we would have beat the Bucks. We were going to do it. And then Trae goes down. It is what it is. Nothing we can do about that. Nothing we can do about that, right? But I'm fast forwarding here. We were 2 wins away from the Eastern Conference Finals. What did we do after that to say, let's get better, guys? We were 2 games away from getting to the NBA Finals. What do we need to do in 2021 to get over the hump? Give Trae some help. We're going to do this now, right? We went and got Gorgie Jang, TLC, Lance Stevenson, Kevin Knox, DeLon Wright, and we drafted JJ and Sharif. Now, I like DeLon, but we weren't using them correctly, really, at the end of the day. Kevin Knox, Lance Stevenson, Mr. Brown Liquor, TLC, Mr. Zero a game. And we had to be happy that Gorgie hit a three every now and again. That's what we did for that next season. TLC averaged 1.5 points in the playoffs. Lance didn't even play. Knox did average 11 points a game for the 2 games that he did play in the playoffs. Sharif didn't play. DeLon gave us 8 points a game. Jang didn't score. And JJ wasn't available. And y'all know why. So, yeah. So going into that Miami series for that next year for the playoffs, we also know, besides what they really didn't do to make us better, we had a whole team hurt. Clint was hurt. Bogey was hurt. Gallo was hurt. John shouldn't even been on the court at all. Okay, right? So, Coach Stoll says, shoot, their whole team is hurt. He ain't gonna let Trae beat us. That's the last thing we about to do. And they put him on. They put it on Trae. It was ugly. And then at that point, you got to hope that somebody be able to step up, because that's the job. See, a lot of people, again, I'm going to say this a couple of times probably, I wouldn't want to play with half the people that are in Atlanta because they're selfish and they don't want to be team players. When stuff happens, it is your job to step up. If one of your guys get hurt, you got to step up. If one of your guys is playing bad, you got to step up and help out. Mitigate whatever it is. Just like Mutombo would erase mistakes. Rest in peace. That's what that is. Being the help defender. And lots of times we don't do that as a team on a nightly basis, because if we did, we'd have a championship right now. We can score. We just don't stop nobody. And that's why I labeled this, is Trae really unnecessary, or should we start putting some of the blame and onus on some of these other players who aren't consistent, who aren't doing their job on a regular basis? Because that's all it is. Are people not playing on purpose because certain people are on the floor? A1 says, I'm a firm believer and I'm stand on it if Trae doesn't get hurt versus the Bucks versus the Suns. The Suns, I kind of say, I give that Suns series a benefit of the doubt, and I say that we were giving them everything that they can handle. But yes, you're correct, A1. We would have beat the Suns. They wouldn't have been able to stop us. They wouldn't have been able to stop us. They wouldn't have been able to stop us. We would have won the NBA Finals. But like I said, look at what they didn't do for that next season, and look at what we had to kind of suffer through. We didn't get better. So that Miami series, you got Bogey and John and Gallo not full strength. Clint is not full strength. He's hurt. Okay. And in that series, you had Hunter, Gallo, Collins, Knox averaging between 14, 17, 10. Kevin was averaging 8 points a game in that series. Bogey was averaging 6 points a game in that playoff series. It's not a lot of help right there. Game 1, Trae had 8 points. He was 1 of 12 shooting. Clint didn't play. Game 2, Trae did have 25 and 7, but they were still all over him. Kevin had 9 points. I'm going to say this. If Kevin Huerter had just had a decent series, we still beat Miami. And then you get to the next round, you don't know what could happen. Maybe John feels a little bit better. Maybe we get some people back or whatever, but we'll never know because we couldn't get nothing out of nobody. Hunter had a good series, relatively. He stepped up. Everybody else didn't. We needed everybody. It's a team game. If they triple team or they're triple teaming one guy to make sure we ain't gonna let you do whatever you do to make your team successful, that means other people got to do something on their own. And it didn't happen. Gallo had 2 points in game 2. John had 13. Bogey did have 29 in that game. Hunter had 16. Again, Clint didn't play. Hawks only played eight people in that game. Game 3, Trae had 24 and 8. This is a game we actually won. Hunter had 17. Kevin had 13. Gallo had 11. John had 6. Bogey had 18. Okongwu had 9 because, again, Clint didn't play. DeLon had 13 points. We win that game. Game 4, though, Trae 9 points, 5 assists. Hunter had 24. Kevin had 4. John had 11. Clint was back. He had 2. Knox had 12. Bogey had 4. Not a lot of help. Game 5, Trae had 11 and 6. He had 8 rebounds. Hunter had 35 points, 11 boards, 3 steals. Proves again that he can do it. I've been saying it, but eventually I just had to give up on it. Kevin had 12. John had 7. Clint had 2 again. Gallo had 12. We lose that game by 3 points. We just needed more than we needed 16 points from Kevin, and we win that game. But again, what did we do after that series to say the next year we're going to get better, we're going to get over this hump, we're going to bring in some better? We brought in Frank the Tank. We brought Bruno back. We went and got Vic. Garrison is a good move overall, hindsight 2020. But then you bring in Trent, no shot Trent. We drafted AJ and Tyrese. You brought in Jarrett Culver. You brought in Sadiq Bey. And of course, you brought in DJ. We brought in DJ with the speculation that he will be a defender, along with another scorer with Trae, since we let John go. Didn't exactly work out like that. Boston series. Game 1, we won. Game 1, Boston won 112-99. Game 2, 119-106. We won game 3, 130-122. Game 4, 129-121. Boston won that. Game 5, we win 119-117. We lost game 6 by 8 freaking points. We should have won that game. Trae Young, 16-8 game 1, 24-6 game 2, 32-9 game 3, 35-15 game 4, 38-13 game 5, 30-10 game 6. He was averaging 2 steals 4 out of those 6 games. I guess he's unnecessary. Game 1, DJ, now, and I've said this on plenty of shows, DJ did do his part on the scoring end in this particular series. He did his job. But we needed somebody to stop Tatum and Brown, one or the other or both. Slow them down, do something. And that did not happen in this series. If it had, we beat Boston straight up. I will continue to say that because everything else was working. Trae was doing his thing. DJ was doing his thing till he got suspended. We just need a little bit of a slowdown because game 1, again, DJ had 24. Hunter had 11. Collins had 12. Clint had 12. Bogey had 9. We lost that game 112-99. Remember, Trae had 16 and 8 in that game. Game 2, DJ had 29. Hunter had 18. John had 5. Clint had 4 points. Bogey had 18. We lose that game 119-106. Remember, Trae was 24-6 in that game 2. Game 3, DJ had 25. Hunter had 11. Clint had 10. John 8. Bogey 15. Bey had 15. JJ had 10. We win that game 130-122. Trae had 32 and 9 in that game. Game 4, DJ had 23. Again, DJ did his job. Hunter had his best game, 27. Clint had 10. John had 5. Bey had 5. Bogey had 8. We lose that game 129-121. Trae had 35 and 15 in that game. So we're really trying to blame Trae Young for that too? Huh? Really? Interesting. In that game 4, both Tatum and Brown had 31. Who was guarding those 2 guys? Nobody. Game 5, of course, DJ was suspended. Hunter had 13. Bogey had 18. John had 22. That was his best game. Clint had 4. Bey had 12. Of course, Trae has a game winner. We win that game 119-117. Trae had 38 and 13 in that game. Game 6, DJ had 14, Hunter had 20, John 16, Clint 10, Bogey 12. We lose that game 129-120. Trae had 30 and 10. So was Trae really unnecessary in that Boston series as well? Tell me how. Explain it to me. Because otherwise, we're not even in that series either. At all. Not even competing. But again, what did we do after that to say, let's get better, let's do, and all this and everything? And we drafted Kobe Buffkin, we drafted Seth, we drafted Muhammad Gay, we got Wesley Matthews, Patty Mills, who we were never going to play. And that was the moves. That was the moves. And of course, in this particular season of 2023, we had all those injuries. Trae missed 28 games. Hunter missed 25 games. Jalen missed 26 games. Okongwu missed 27 games. Bey missed 19 games. Hawks lost the last 7 games of the season after winning their last game, which was Detroit Pistons, you know, the famous Malachi Flynn 50-point game, right? And by the way, if you want, you can go watch the review of all of those games. I reviewed the last 8 games of the regular season plus the Chicago Bulls playing game. So make sure you go back around the ATL on YouTube, IMTN Worldwide Radio page on YouTube, I should say, and go watch that. Go watch those games, and you'll see how we lost those games, because it's not how you think we lost them. I can guarantee you that. Okay. Now, all that being said, there's a lot of things that I've talked about in the past, and I'm gonna see if I can. I don't know if it'll let me do it. I'm gonna try to post them all at once because I don't want to do them individually. But if I don't do it now, I won't get to do it at all. Here are some of the episodes that I've talked about this particular subject in regards to Trae Young and whether or not he's necessary to the team and or not. Let's see if it'll let me do it. So these are the links to the shows that I've done. Some of them are called Rosters Matter in regards to the rosters, and I've gone back and shown, and I even broke down Steve Nash's Dallas Mavericks roster before he went to the Suns and showed what the Suns record was before him and after him and everything, and look at all these players and look at what they did. I did that for y'all. I have a show called What's the Point? I have a show called Journalistic Integrity. Accomplishments Matter. There was an article that I wrote on my website. I ended up doing it here on the show. I read it out. I have episodes about Hunter and whether or not, don't you want the best of a player rather than substandard best of a player, right? I have episodes about Clint and Okongwu. I have an episode of Kevin, because a lot of people think Kevin was like scoring 30 points a game for some reason. And again, I really like Red Mamba being here. But at a certain point, I needed him to score more than 12 points a game on bummy scoring, shooting percentages, I should say. And so his last season in Atlanta, I actually reviewed his first 25 or 30, I can't remember the number, games of that season to show y'all what exactly he did rather than what you think he did, because it's completely different. And I went game for game. I definitely urge you to go look at that, because you'll have a different opinion on things if you look at those games. There's some games he did good, but most of them he didn't. It's just there's games he was scoring 8 points a game. 1 of 7 from 3. That's not positive, right? Now, again, is Trae Young really unnecessary? Is the question. So let me tell you this, and hopefully all those links work. Hopefully they do. And by the way, I'm on Twitch now. I guess I don't know if it's working or not. I guess we'll find out in a couple of hours. Let me ask you these questions before I go to my next part of this subject, as I do this podcast this morning. Is Trae Young averaging 12 points, 4 assists a game? No, he's not. Has he missed 157 games in his career so far? No, he hasn't. The bulk of his games was this past season. It is what it is. It was an injury. He had to miss those games. Well, he hasn't missed 157 like some people I know, Hunter. Has he never been an all-star? Has he never been an all-NBA team player? You know the answer to that question. Has he never led the league in any category? You know he has. Has he never led the team in his own team in any category? Right? Has he never not done that? You know the answer to that. He has. Has he never been a player that has broken an NBA record? No, because he has, right? Trae Young, and I have done an episode on this before too, but I'm going to do it now. Trae Young is the first player in NBA history to record 45 points and 10 assists in a conference finals game. He actually had 48 points, 11 assists. First Hawks player to score 20 points and 10 assists in 3 straight playoff games. Most points in a conference finals debut. Youngest player to record 40 points, 10 assists at least in a conference finals game. Only Hawks player other than Doc Rivers to record a double-double in points and assists in a game 7. Longest streak in NBA history of 20 points and at least 7 assists, 11 games in a row. Youngest player to drop at least 20 points, 15 assists in a playoff game. It was actually 35 points and 15 assists. First player since 1991's Tim Hardaway to have at least 25 points and 18 assists in a playoff game. Since 1991, I started going to high school in 91. First player, joined Michael Jordan as the only of 2 players in NBA history to score 30 points in 3 straight road games against the Knicks. It's him and Michael Jordan, that's the list. Michael Jordan's a pretty decent player. 5th player in NBA history to record at least 15 career 40-point games at age 22 or younger. Passed Michael Jordan for 2nd most 30-point, 10 assist games by a rookie in NBA history. So it's him and Michael Jordan. First rookie since Michael Jordan to put up 45 points, 15 assists. I said Michael Jordan a couple of times there. But Trae Young is unnecessary, though. Get rid of him. Let's get Ish Smith back out of retirement. Because didn't he just retire or something? Trae Young is the Atlanta Hawks all-time leader in assists, 3-pointers, 2nd in double-doubles, 6th in total points. By the way, if Trae Young plays at least 7 more seasons, give or take, average at least 1,900 points, he's going to be the Hawks all-time leading scorer over Dominique Wilkins. Y'all know that? 7 seasons, 14 total seasons as an Atlanta Hawk. He's going to be the all-time leader in Hawks points on top of everything else. But he's unnecessary. By the way, over the last couple of years, he scored approximately, I didn't do decibels in this case, 1,575 points in 2020, 2,128 points in 2021, 1,898 points in 2022, and of course, because of the injuries, 1,350 points last year. But if he's averaging 24, 25 points a game, he does that, which also means he has a shot to go even higher as far as the NBA all-time list. We'll talk about that another time. Trae Young is 4th in 30-point, 10 assist games in NBA history. He's played 6 seasons plus 11 games this season. He's 3 games away from passing Russell Westbrook, who has played 17 seasons. He's 21 games away from tying LeBron James and James Harden. Bron has played 22, Harden has played 16. Not sure how many more years they're going to play, but Trae is nipping on the heels of those 2 guys in 6 seasons plus 11 games. 30 points, 10 assists. Luka's behind Trae. Trae would have broke that last year if he hadn't gotten hurt, of course. Trae is 4th all-time in playoff assists per game in NBA history. Trae Young is 3rd all-time in NBA history in assists per game. Trae Young is 1st in active players in assists per game. He leads CP3, Luka, Westbrook. If Trae Young finishes this season with at least 10 assists per game still, here are some of the players he's going to pass in NBA history in all-time assists. I got to get up close on this. Manu Ginobili, Kenny Smith, Bill Russell, T-Mac, Kyrie Irving. Now, even though Kyrie Irving is still playing, I think he might end up still passing him in this one. Charles Barkley, Tim Duncan, Kurt Heinrich, Grant Hill, Spud Webb, Ray Allen, Hal Greer, DeRozan, Jeff Teague, Jason Williams, Joe Dumars, Draymond Green, Wilt Chamberlain, Kevin Durant, Paul Pierce. Next year, he's probably passing Vince Carter, technically the Joker, because he's still playing, but he's neck and neck with him right now. Mark Price, Doc Rivers, Nate McMillan, Joe Johnson, Walt Frazier, Kenny Anderson, Jason Terry, Kevin Garnett, Mike Bibby, Allen Iverson, and Michael Jordan, all-time assist leaders. That will be his 8th season. Those are the people who he'll be passing. So it really is Trae Young unnecessary. We don't have no other player in Hawks history has come close to doing any of these things, but we're going to toss away Trae Young. We're just going to give him away instead of saying we need to put some players around Trae so we can do more. But see, that's what all the other teams in the league do with their best players. Right? The championship winning teams, the teams that go to the championship, just the Atlanta Hawks do the opposite for some reason. And again, I showed you at the beginning of this episode, Magic Johnson, James Harden, Chris Paul, Steve Nash. Look at the players that they had around them over a long period of time. Good to great players. Some of them MVP, some of them Hall of Famers. Right? Can we slide one in? Now, of course, JJ might develop into one of those. You never know. And of course, we got the #1 pick. But what about the years before that, though? And even this year, there was moves that could have been made. I talked about this in months ago, what we could have done. We had the power to do some really stupendous things, to move some stuff around, shake some stuff up. Hunter ain't that guy for us. He can't play. He's always hurt. He's not really going to give us more than 14, 15 a game. He's never going to lock down nobody. He's still never been first, second team all defense. He's never led anybody in deflections. He won't rebound his position. Come on. We could have got Caruso. We could have got Herb Jones. We could have got some people. We could have got Dort. We could have got some people, man. But anyway, my whole point is we haven't done what other teams have done to win rings. And that's important to acknowledge that. And some people don't want to acknowledge that. But they look at all these other teams do stuff for the best player on that team. Look at the Knicks since 2020. Look how the Knicks have overhauled that entire team. And look at they went and got OG. They went and got Bridges. And then they went and got Cat. I'm like, again, some stuff may work, some stuff may not work. Just like with Philly. They got Joel, of course. But then they went and got James Harden. That didn't really work out. But now they got PG-13. That's probably not going to work out because he can't play either. But at least they're trying. It is what it is, right? Luka has had Porzingis on his team. He's had Brunson on his team. He has Kyrie on his team now. Again, last year. And they gave him Clay, right? But like I said, Gaffer and PJ Washington last year helped their defense. All of a sudden, boom, boom, they're giving up less points. And all of a sudden, they're in the Western Conference Finals. They're in the finals. Now, those moves weren't enough to beat Boston, but they got to the finals. They're the defending Western Conference champions right now. Is what it is. But right now, I think they're 12th because of that loss the other night or tonight, whatever. Trade Luka. Doggone it, right? The Nuggets have drafted well. Made some great trades over a period of time, great free agency rules. They have a championship to show for it, and they're always a contender now, right? OKC, great run organization. They've had a team get to the finals that got torn down, and they built up a whole nother one. And this current team, this current iteration, will be a contender for a long time, right? And even though Chet being hurt, that's not going to deter them from winning. Because they got other players. They got a whole bunch of players, right? And they're willing to make moves to fix other things as well if they have to. Because of planning, because they want to. Cat had 46 points the other night, by the way. That was crazy, right? Boston, they've also drafted very well over the years, right? Trades, free agency. They had Marcus Smart. Man, we're gonna go get Drew Holiday. Bump that. We can get better. Right? They have 2 finals appearances since 2018. They've won 1, right? But what have the Hawks done? I've told y'all, we hadn't done nothing. We didn't do anything for Dominique Wilkins. We didn't do anything for that 60-win squad that deserved better. Didn't do nothing for them. And didn't do anything for Trae's 3rd year in the league and that group that they actually put together. And we did not. We went backwards. We literally went backwards. But again, this offseason, I've said this previous months ago, that this is the first time since 2020, it looked like they made some moves to try to amend, fix some of the issues from the last few years. One of those was, of course, Dyson Daniels. I've done video on him earlier. Hopefully y'all go back and check it out and stuff. And I said, well, first of all, he was a league leader in defensive playmaking last year off the bench, 22 minutes a game for the Pelicans. He was averaging a steal and a half a game already. If we start him, he's going to play some defense for us. He wants to play defense. He said it in his presser at the beginning of the season. I want to be first team all defense. I want to be that guy on defense. I'm going to stop you. What has he done? He's pacing for Defensive Player of the Year. When was the last time the Hawks had a Defensive Player of the Year? Dikembe Mutombo. Rest in peace. When's the last time we had anybody first team all defense? Dikembe and Mookie. That was the 90s, people. How come Hunter ain't on that list? How come Cam wasn't on? Oh, yeah, Cam don't play for us no more. Right? But anyway, Dyson was going to be that guy. Right? So that was one thing. Zach. Again, if you see, there's a show that I said this wasn't a need. I didn't like the pick initially because I said we needed size. We're still, but after thinking about it, and again, this is what I talked about earlier in the episode when I first got started, you have a right to change your opinion on things. If you look stuff up, you do some research, you ponder upon it, you might change your mind or attitude about something if you think about something, if you're presented with other information. And I presented myself with other information. I said, let me look at this tape from Zachary Ricochet. Let me see what let me check this guy out a little bit more. Since we didn't get a center, let me see what he can do. Because this is basically going to be the heir apparent of Hunter. Hunter's, we need to trade Hunter. We should have traded him during this summer. I was like, if this is our small forward for the future, let's go ahead and make this move and maybe get some, But we didn't do none of that. But anyway, before I get mad, my blood pressure goes out the window. But Dyson plus Zach gives you something that we haven't had before. Real length. And the want to say, I'm going to try to block your shot if you come in here. I'm going to try to get this rebound. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do that. Right now, the Hawks are not 26 in blocks this year so far. We are not 25th in the league in points in the paint given up this year. We're still bad on points, fast break points, though. And again, I've talked about this a whole bunch. But because of those two guys, those two young men, along with a little JJ mixed in there, we're better on that. We're better. The effort is better overall, especially with Dyson. Okay. JJ, of course, him having his contract and him being the guy, he's going to be one of the guys now. He's core. He's going to have a big season this year. You already have seen that, right? So you got Dyson, you got Zach, you got JJ. So you got those three guys along with Trae. Now it's a matter of, okay, well, what can we do at the 5? Because again, it's a weakness. It's been a weakness for a few years now. Clint hadn't been the same since 2020. Unfortunately, it is what it is. He's holding on to 10 points a game and barely 6-7 rebounds a night. Every now and again, he has a good game, but it's nowhere near consistent. We needed more than 3 out of 10 on that Chicago game. If we get 4 out of 10, we win that ball game, guys, because he missed those free throws too. But anyway, and Okongwu, again, I say that he needs to start, but he hasn't really been playing that well either this year for the most part. And again, it's about the effort. It's about your ability. Can you do it every night? We need it. We need it from everybody because this is the roster that we got, unless we change it, right? But this is why I said, well, if the lineup I propose goes forward, Trae, Dyson, Zach, JJ, O, and then you got Kobe whenever he returns, Bogey whenever he returns, Hunter, he might return, Nance, because we got Nance now. Nance is a veteran. Nance is a quality veteran who's been playing the 5 for the last couple of years. He can pick and pop. He can pick and roll. He can finish. He's full of activity. And then you got Clint coming off the bench. You got a veteran bench of 4 guys along with Kobe that I would put our 2s against any 2s in the league. And I think we have an advantage. We get 25, 30 points a game just out of Bogey and Hunter on most nights, depending on lineups. I believe that. And then so whatever Kobe gives you, extra. Nance is always going to be solid. And Clint just needs to try to get rebounds. I don't need you to do nothing going to the basket. Bump that. We don't need to waste the time anymore. It is what it is. And we haven't seen it yet because everybody's been hurt. And then you still got your reserves. You got Garrison, you got Vitt, Barlow. I talked about Barlow. I showed you his video. I think he could be helping us right now, right? Keaton Wallace. I talked about Keaton Wallace a few months ago. I talked about all this a lot and shown the video to back it up. But it has to be everybody all the time. And again, Trae Young is not the one giving up all the points every night. He just isn't. And we need to be looking at why nobody wants to give any kind of fault to anybody else on the team when it's 5-on-5. Like, you give up 35 points, fast break points in a game. That's not one person not getting back, people. You give up 65 points in the paint. That's not one person. It just isn't. You give up 22 threes in a game. That's not one person. One person can give up 7 threes in a game, but not 22. You see what I'm saying? That's absurd. Let's see. Let me ask you this question. Do you really, this is 8-1 again. Do you really think anybody wants DeAndre Hunter? Well, I'm going to finish it. Do you really think anybody wants DeAndre Hunter's contract? He's not available often enough, and his contract continues to go up until it's over. I don't think anyone wants Hunter. This summer, he had value because of what he was doing off the bench. He had value on the basis that we got Zach at the #1 pick. Because at that point, there was automatic speculation that he would be on the table. But again, we had some moves that we could have made. I'm telling you, we could have used Clinton, Hunter, and we could have used DJ. I'm telling you, we could have got KD as far as I'm concerned. We could have got him. Okay. But we didn't do any of that. And then now here it is. He after game 2, he was gone. Peanut brittle again, right? Right off the bat of the season. So it will be a hard sell. But I think with a team that either has a need off the bench as a scorer, I think someone would look at him. I think it is possible to still do it, but it's just going to be a hard sell. I just don't know how they're going to convince it. I mean, passing the physical is going to be kind of iffy at this point, right? I don't know, but we need to try. But if we don't, I don't mind him staying here as long as he comes off the bench. He's not getting at first I said 20, 22 minutes, but now I'm like, shoot, you might need to get him to 15, 17 minutes a game at this point. Because, again, he's not going to play 70 games in the season again already. 6th year in the league. But the things that he's good at a standstill shot, and he can hit the 3. Last year, he had his best 3 season of all time. So that's something that he can do. Unfortunately, he still has no handles. He won't develop a back-to-the-basket game of any kind, even though he got the size to do it. He should be hitting turnaround fadeaways off the backboard all day long. He can't do it. He won't do it. He never developed it. He won't rebound. So since he won't rebound, he could be scoring more points just off of a couple of extra offensive rebounds every now and again and putbacks, some steals every now and again. He can't even average a steal a game. Like, that's stupid. Getting down the floor in a hurry, get some fast break points. If he had any handles, he'd go to the basket. He would average more than 3 free throws a game. He could be averaging 7 free throws a game. He could be averaging 19 points a game just off of free throws. He can hit a free throw, but he won't develop himself. He won't get better at anything, ever. But he can give you 14, 15 points a game if he's healthy. So I think there's still value there. It's just going to be hard right now to convince anybody that he's healthy enough to last long enough to play. He's going to have to be on, load management like Joel Embiid, not play back-to-backs, maybe play once a week. I don't know. It's frustrating because, again, he should never have gotten that contract. John Collins, his contract was valid. Because John Collins is the only other Hawk that's been drafted in the last 20-something years that has 4 years of scoring between 16 and 21 points a game. The only other player is Trae Young. John Collins was the second leading scorer on our team. It wasn't Hunter until DJ got here. John Collins can hit all the shots. You see what John Collins is doing now? They're using him finally, and he's balling out of control. He just had 28. He's had 28, 29, a couple of games in a row, whatever, getting the rebounds, hitting the threes again. He was our second best three-point shooter on our team until the finger got hurt. Yeah, one bad year shooting the three, but he was still hitting his field goals though. He was still shooting 50-something%. It was just the threes he was shooting 29%. That wasn't gonna last forever, folks. Just saying. He was our second leading rebounder after Clint. He was our best help defender. You see what's happened there? Well, Clint out there by himself because Clint is not a good help defender at all. He slides out the way. He'll let you lay the ball up. I've shown you video of this. That's why I'm talking about it now. But anyway, let me get finished with this because now I'm past the hour mark. I should take a break, but I think let's see, where am I at? Ooh, yeah, I might need to take a quick break. Let me see. I kind of went off tangent there to break that down a little bit. But again, we couldn't predict the injuries. And then again, injuries are never an excuse, but I was listening to ESPN radio earlier, and they were like, at a certain point, the injuries do catch up to you. Like, you got to have somebody on your team. Like the Pelicans are going through it right now, right? Eventually, you got to have somebody out there. Right now, it's just Brandon Ingram and, everybody else, right? If we get our guys back, we'll be better. But we could be better now if everybody just played consistently. And this is why I keep saying, is Trae Young really unnecessary? Or is it necessary for everybody to play hard all the time? Are people missing shots on purpose? Are people not playing defense on purpose because Trae is out there? But see, again, that doesn't make any sense because of what happened last year. Last year, Trae missed 28 games and the Hawks went 14-14 in those games, right? Some of those games were really close, though. Just saying. They won them, but they could have won them easier if certain things happened. But again, we weren't stopping anybody last year. If Trae Young is the reason that people hate him so much because supposedly his defense is so bad that it prevents everybody from playing defense, which is not true, because Dyson Daniels is about to be Defensive Player of the Year with Trae Young on the floor. So that was a lie, obviously, right? But if Trae Young is the reason, explain the 14 losses. You got 14 wins, but why didn't we go 28-0 without Trae Young on the floor? That Boston win makes us 28-33 all time in Trae Young missed games. Not 61-0, not 50-10, not 40-20. 28-33 losses. So we're not better without Trae Young. We're just not. That's a lie. Because otherwise you'd be undefeated. But those 14 losses, I'm going to go back to that again. Why didn't we win all 28 games that Trae wasn't playing? Because if Trae ain't playing, we should be able to lock down everybody. Lock down city behind bars. Locked up, don't let me, right? It didn't happen, though. And guess what? If we won those 14 games that we lost, we win 50 games. We win 7 of those games. We're not in the play-in, I think, off the top of my head, right? So let's look at some of these games. Actually, let me do this. Let me take a quick break. A1 Forever and anybody who's watching right now, don't go anywhere. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to get some water real quick because I'm parched. And then I'm going to finish this up because I'm almost finished, actually, but I do need to take a quick break. So again, if you're watching, make sure you subscribe to the IMTN Worldwide Radio page. Share it with at least one fan of Atlanta sports, especially if they're Hawks fans or whatever. And I'm going to repost this on all my pages and everything, and hopefully people will share it. But make sure you subscribe to the IMTN Worldwide Radio page. I'm going to take a quick 1.5-minute break. I'm going to do a little bit of my Women in Business show. If you are married, if you have a girlfriend, you have a daughter, and you like them to watch inspirational stuff, watch this clip of my show, Women in Business. I'll be right back. By the way, thanks for everybody for staying with me on around the ATL on IMTN Worldwide Radio. Some of those pictures are women I've interviewed on the show, obviously, and some of them are sports related. So you should go back and listen to some of those because there was some great interviews with some of the journalists that are in Atlanta that do Atlanta sports. Also, that is a new logo for the Women in Business show. If you saw that, I forgot I got to change that now. But anyway, thanks for those who stayed on for a little bit as I took a quick little break so I don't pass out. So let's get back to it. So what I was talking about a little bit earlier, again, we're talking about, is Trae Young really unnecessary? And I was on the verge of talking about the 28 games that he missed last year. And again, the reasoning is for some people to say, oh, well, when Trae Young is out, we're a better team and we play harder. And I'm like, that's just messed up to say that out loud. That's just crazy, because are you really playing half strength for yourself personally because Trae Young is out there? You yourself as a player, we know that's not true, but you as a fan are out there trying to perpetrate that mess. It's just crazy talk. When your best player is out, you're supposed to say, man, he's hurt, he can't do it. I gotta step up. What do I need to do? I need to get a couple more extra. Like I'm gonna go to Sunday Night Basketball, and the most recent episode is up on the page. I do a video called Sunday Night Basketball when I play. I've been playing for 40 years. I played Sunday night. Played more games than usual. I played 7 games. We went 6-1. Almost killed myself out there. But if I got one of my players who's off, I got to do a little bit more, because most of the time I'm not selfish. I'm not really trying to shoot. I'm trying to get boards. I'm trying to block shots. I'm trying to post up. I'm trying to set screens, run the offense through me. I'm a great passer. So I'm trying to get 7 assists a game. In my head, that's what I'm trying to do. We play clock. So that kind of goes into it. We've got time frames to worry about. But if one of my people are not hitting those shots, though, I got to shoot a little bit more. I can hit an outside shot. You see what I'm saying? I haven't gone 30 years without being able to learn how to shoot a jumper or a fade or a hook or have touch inside or a 3 straight up. By the way, again, Clint Capella has 5 3-point attempts in 10 seasons. I don't care what generation you in. That's ridiculous, right? Anyway, so I look to make sure that I get myself involved more if I have to, because one of my guys is struggling, whatever it is. Maybe he twisted a knee, and be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more than usual, right? And that's what all players are supposed to do when their guy goes down, except for the Hawks. The Hawks, oh man, it don't make no sense. It doesn't make sense. That's not teamwork right there. But let's go over some of these games. So what I did, and I've done it before, but I did it even more in detail for this. The Hawks went 14-14 with Trae gone, right? And again, they won 14 of them, but they lost 14. So let's go over some of these games. I didn't go through all of them, but I kind of went through most of them. Let's look at the 6 or 7 games that they won near the end of the season. They had that little bit of a streak, right? And let me get back to the comment section. I don't know if A1 is still there, but appreciate the comments for A1. March 23rd of last year, they beat the Charlotte Hornets 132-91. Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Okongwu, and Saddiq Bey were all out. So again, this is another part of this. Are you saying that the team is better without Trae, or the team is better without Jalen Johnson, Okongwu, and Saddiq Bey and Trae Young? Something to think about. But anyway, Charlotte didn't really have anything going on at that point in March. DJ had 28, Vitt had 9, Hunter had 11, Garrison had 20. Bruno had his best game ever, 25 points. They won that game. March 25th, they beat the Boston Celtics 120-118. Again, Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Okongwu, and Saddiq Bey did not play in this game. That's 4 players. Now, of course, if those 4 players were playing, wouldn't it be a little bit easier to beat the Boston Celtics? I think so. Just a little bit. Just a little bit, I don't think they're better without all 4 of those players, though. But that's just my opinion. Hunter had 24. Vitt had 16. DJ had 19. Bogey had 22. Clint had 14 and 12. Jason Tatum, though, had 37 points. That don't sound like anybody was stopping him. Brown had 24 and Porzingis had 17. So again, if Trae Young didn't play, how come at least Tatum or Brown or both of those guys not getting shut down? Nobody ever answers that question for some reason. I want to know. If Trae Young is so bad and he's the reason that nobody else can play defense, when he ain't on the floor, it should be much easier. We didn't stop nobody. We won that game by 2 points. March 27th, we beat the Portland Trail Blazers, 120 to 106. Now, again, Portland really didn't have nothing going on. I think they started, I think I got it. Let's see. They started Rayan Rupert, Scoot Henderson, Tunami Kamara, Dupe Reith, and Chris Murray. Not to be confused with Keith Murray. Hawks again were missing Trae, JJ, O, and Bay. Bogey had 16, DJ had 30, Vic had 7, Hunter had 13 on 5 of 12 shooting. Because people want to keep talking about percentages, shooting percentage, so I'm bringing it up on these too, okay? Clint had 13 and 10. This game, Garrison actually scored 21. Second time he had 20 all of that season. March 28th, the Boston Celtics again. We beat them this time by 1 point. Again, JJ, O, Bay, and Trae was not playing. This is the game that DJ had 44 points on 44 shots. The way y'all would have yelled to death if Trae Young took 44 shots in the game. By the way, he did have a 56-point game a couple years ago against Portland, I believe it was. He only took 26 shots to do that, by the way. Just saying, he had 14 assists in that game too. But since we couldn't stop Simons, we lost that game. But anyway, Hunter had 21, Vic had 2 points, Clint had 12. Wesley Matthews had 3 points, Bruno had 6, Garrison had 7, no shot, Trent had 4. Again, if we had Trae, JJ, O, and Bay in that game, we probably win that game a little bit easier, and DJ don't have to take 44 shots. Tatum had 31, White had 22 points. He shot 72% from the floor and 83% from 3. We weren't stopping nobody. Porzingis had 20, and Brown had 18. So, again, Trae ain't on the floor. How come we're not stopping the best players on Boston? What's the excuse? Because that's the excuse that people keep giving me, is that Trae Young is so bad, we got help on Trae and everything, even though the film don't show that. The film just doesn't show it. Not to the extent that people want to make it out to be. It just doesn't, it's not happening like that. Not on the court. Maybe in somebody's brain, the Matrix or something. Are you plugged in? Make sure. But it ain't happening in real life like that. But anyway, March 30th, the Hawks lose to the Bucks 122 to 113. So this is why this wasn't a 7-game winning streak and it was 6 out of 7, because they got beat by the Bucks. Again, they're missing Trae, JJ, O, and Sadiq Bey. Bogey had 38 in this game. Hunter had 13. DJ had 20. Vic had 8. Clint had 10 and 8. Nobody else had more than 10. Giannis had 36. Chris Middleton had 21. And Pat Bev, of all people, had 18. How come we couldn't stop Pat Bev? We lost this game by a few points, 122 to 113. We let Pat Bev get 18 points. What's the excuse there? We can say Giannis is going to get his and get 36. And Middleton, he can get 21. But my goodness, why does Pat Bev have to have 18? We lost that game because of Pat Bev? That don't make no sense. Are y'all satisfied with that? Again, these losses matter. We still had a chance to get the play-in, home court. Heck, we had a chance to still kind of not be in the play-in. Why didn't we get out? Why didn't we move up in the standings with the 28 games that Trae wasn't there? How come we didn't move up in the standings at all? Nobody answers that question either. April 1st of last year, the Hawks beat the Bulls 113 to 101. Again, Trae, O, and Bay are out. JJ is back, though. Bogey had 20. DJ had 17. Hunter had 8. Vic had 18. JJ had 11. Clint had 15 and 11. DeRozan, though, had 31. Kobe White had 22. Drummond had 13 and 18. And this makes me mad because White had 22 in this game and then 42 in an elimination game. What happened? It wasn't Trae Young, by the way. Go watch that review. That's on the IMTN Worldwide Radio page that you see right there. Go back and you'll see Trae Young, Chicago Bulls. You'll see that. Go watch that tape. April 3rd, the Hawks beat Detroit 121-113. Trae, O, Kongwu, and Bay are out. JJ had 28, Hunter had 26, DJ had 24, Clint had 11 and 16, Bogey had 10, but Malachi Flynn had 50 points. Explain that. He shot 72% from the floor, 55% from three. Explain that. Trae Young didn't play that game. Well, Chris, we won. We barely won at home against the Pistons. They lost 68 games. Explain that. I showed that game too. It was very frustrating to go through that footage and watching Malachi Flynn ball out of control on us, because that's what he did. And nobody even double teamed him. Nobody on our team can stop Malachi Flynn. He averaged 5 points a game, 2023. Like, for real? Like, here's some of the earlier wins before that particular streak of 6 or 7. March 8th, they beat the Grizzlies 99-92. Now listen to the lineup that the Grizzlies put out there against the Hawks. Vince Williams Jr., Santi Aldama, Triple J was playing, Jaren Jackson, John Concher, whatever. Jordan Goodwin was in the starting lineup. Lamar Stevens and Jake LaRavia were off the bench, had 13 and 14 points apiece. JJ had 21, Vince and Santi had 14 and 13 each. To score 92 points. We win that game by 7. Sadiq Bey had 3 points on 1 of 12 shooting. Vic had 3 points. Clint had 15 and 11 on 5 of 13 shooting from the field. He did hit all 5 of his free throws, but he was 5 of 13 from the field against that lineup. Nobody cares, though. Don't matter. It's not a big deal. Now, DJ had 41 points in that game. He had to get it, basically. Bogey had 16, and Hunter had 12 off the bench. And we barely beat the Grizzlies. We won. March 6th, Hawks beat the Cavs 112-101. Bay had 23. DJ had 18 on 7 of 21 shooting. That's 33%, guys. That's not good, is it? We want to talk percentage. Let's talk percentage. Bogey had 23. Hunter had 17 off the bench. JJ had 7. Cavs had 52 points in the paint, 14 second chance points, 15 fast break points. We win this game, but we kind of had to hold on to that game, though. March 5th, Hawks beat the Knicks 116-100. A little bit easier. But the Knicks only played 8 players in this game. Josh Hart had 14. Dante had 21. JJ had 26. Bay had 17. Clint had 13. DJ had 21 on 7 of 17 shooting. Not great. Hunter had 22 on the bench, though. Bogey had 5 points. Knicks had 25 fast break points, 15 second chance points. He hit 16 threes in this game. Not great. Here's some of the earlier losses before that 6 or 7 streak as well. March 2nd, we lose to the New York Nets. Brooklyn Nets, 114-102. Bridges had 38. Who was guarding Bridges? Cam Johnson had 23. Who was guarding him? Dennis had 14 and 8. Claxton had 12 and 13. How do you let Claxton do that? Come on. Hawks gave up 15 fast break points. We didn't have any fast break points. Hawks had a 13-point lead in that game, by the way, as well, at a certain point. Now, for the Hawks, Bay had 23. JJ had 7. Clint had 11 and 10. Bogey had 13. DJ had 20, but on 8 of 19 shooting. That's 42%. We're going to talk about percentages. Hunter had 15 off the bench. February 29th, we lose to the Nets again, 124-97. Cam Johnson had 29. Dennis had 23 and 8. DJ had 28. But Bogey was 4 of 13 from the field for his 11 points. JJ was 5 of 12 from the field for 14 points. Bay had 6. Clint had 7. Hunter had 12. We gave up 22 threes in that game. Where's the defense? Where's the sense of urgency? Trae ain't playing, so he can't be the one blamed for anything now. Is it easier to win with Trae on the floor or not? Or is it just effort? Because right there, it tells me effort is missing right there. 22 threes given up. March 21st. I'm going back and forth a little bit now. March 21st. And all these games I'm mentioning, Trae Young didn't play. Okay? Just keep that in mind as well. So again, if we're talking about just defense, what's the problem? Should be better. Should be locked down. March 21st, we lost to the Suns, 128 to 115. We gave up 128 points to the Suns. Trae, JJ, and Bay are out. DJ had 29 on 11 to 26 shooting. That's 42%. Vit had 9. Bogey had 16. Hunter had 22 on 5 of 13 shooting. That's not good, is it? Why isn't it good? Do y'all think it's good? Or is it just not good when it's somebody else? Booker had 30 points on 6 of 8 from 3. Who was stopping Booker? Eric Gordon had 21 on 8 of 11 from the floor, 4 of 6 from 3. Who was stopping Eric Gordon? Suns hit 22 threes in the game at 53% from the floor. And they shot 55% from the floor in general. Where's the defense? That was March 21st. March 18th, we lost to the Lakers, 136 to 105. Trae and Sadiq Bey are out. DJ had 13 points on 6 of 18 shooting. That's 33%. We're going to talk about percentages. There you go again. JJ had 25. Bogey had 17. Vit had 11. Clint had 10. You missed 5 shots, though. But he had 10, had 9 boards. Hunter had 8 and 1 rebound on 4-14 from the floor. Is that good? I don't think so. Okongwu had 11. Anthony Davis had 22 points and 15 rebounds. Who was guarding him? D'Lo had 27 points. How do you let that happen if Trae ain't playing? Bron had 25. Hachimura had 17. You can't stop one of those guys? Can't slow him down? Old man Bron? They had 15 threes on 41% shooting from the floor. They shot 57% from the floor. They had 68 points in the paint. What's the problem? They had 23 fast break points too, by the way, the Lakers did. 136 points they gave up. So where is the defense? I want someone to answer me. Because if Trae Young is the reason nobody can play defense, what's the problem in all these games where we keep giving up all these points and threes and high shooting percentages and fast break points galore? What's the problem? March 15th, we lose to the Utah Jazz, 124 to 122. We gave up 124 points again. DJ had 33, but on 10 to 27 shooting, 37%. Let's talk percentages, right? JJ had 26 on 8 of 23. That's 34%. Vit had 2. Hunter had 27. He did shoot well from the floor in his case, 58% from the floor, 71% from 3. Clint had 10, had 15 boards. 7 of them were offensive rebounds. 10 points, though. 7 offensive rebounds. Keontae George had 25 points. Sexton had 21. John had 18 and 11. Johnny Juzang off the bench had 19. He was 7 and 11 from the floor, 5 of 8 from 3. They had 56 points in the paint, 16 second chance points, 24 fast break points. Why couldn't we beat Utah? Could it be the shooting percentage? But anyway, March 13th, Hawks lose to Portland, 106 to 102. Another game Trae didn't play. JJ didn't play. Okongwu didn't play. Bay didn't play. DJ had 40 in this game. And we lost it by 4 points. Bogey had 8 points on 3 of 15 shooting. Vit had 7. Clint had 13, but he was 1 of 5 from the free throw line. Lost 106 to 102. He had 7 offensive rebounds. He had 13 points. Hunter had 11 points on 4 of 12 shooting from the floor. That's 33%. He had 1 rebound. In the meantime, Simons had 36 and Ayton had 33 on 15 of 20 shooting. Who was stopping Ayton and who was stopping Simons? Nobody. Hawks had a 16-point lead in this game. What's the problem? Someone tell me. We lost a game 106 to 102 against a team that wasn't really all that great, and only 2 people were hurting us. The only two people in double digits were Ayton and Simons. Well, no, there was one more. He had 12. The other two starters had 9 points and 3 points respectively. And we got beat by that team. Wasn't because of Trae Young, because Trae Young wasn't in the game. March 10th, we lose to the Pelicans 116-103. Trae, Okongwu, JJ didn't play. DJ had 23 points on 7-20 shooting. That's 35% shooting from the floor. Bogey had 25. Bay had 14, but on 3 of 11 shooting from the floor. That's 27%. Clint had one of his best games. He had 18 points, 14 boards. Bit had 3. Hunter had 12 points, but on 5 of 15 shooting, that's 33%. People, we're going to talk about percentages. Let's go all the way with it. Pelicans, Zion had 27. He only missed 4 shots. McCollum had 20. Trey Murphy had 28. He shot 50%. Both of them, McCollum and Murphy, shot 50% from the floor. Where was the defense? They shot 57% from the floor as a team. 51% from 3. Where's the defense? Trey ain't playing. They had 56 points in the paint. Where's the defense? Trey ain't playing. They have 18 fast break points. We lost that game 116-103. Why? Someone tell me something. Because I want to know. Like Joe. Song. March 2nd, Hawks lose to the Nets. Again. Wait a minute. Did I already do this game? I think I already did these games. No, I didn't. Maybe I did. I'll go through them again. No, I did do those games. So we lost to the Nets twice, 114-102 and 124-97. I didn't do this game. The Warriors come out and play, right? We lost to the Warriors 134-112. Trey ain't playing. Why are we giving up 134 to the Warriors, guys? Anybody want to, when you get to this point, whenever you get to this point of the video, I want you to comment. JJ had 21, DJ had 23, Bogey had 17, Bay had 18, Clint had 11. Patty Mills got to play. He had 13. Curry had 25. Clay had 24. Kuminga had 25. He went 11 for 11 from the field. So who was stopping those guys? Trey ain't out there to stop nobody from playing defense. That's the excuse that I keep hearing. Trey isn't playing, so where's the excuse now? Why do we get beat like that? Oh, it's the Warriors. Really, though? Oh, not really. Why can't you? No team has ever gone undefeated, so somebody's beating them. January 22nd, I pulled this one. We lost to the Kings, 122-107. Trey and Hunter didn't play. DJ had 35 and 10, 6 assists. JJ had 11 on 4 of 18 shooting, though, 22%. Bogey, 18 points on 5 of 12 shooting, that's 41%. And Bay had 13 on 4 of 11, 36%. Clint had 11 on 4 of 10 shooting. He had 12 boards. Do the boards excuse the 4 of 10? No, not really. We lost 122-107. Okongwu had 8 points, 9 boards. Harrison Barnes had 32 points in this game. Who was sticking Harrison Barnes? Why does he have 32? Sabonis had 14 points and 21 boards. Kings had 56 points in the paint and 15 fast break points. December 8th, this is the last game I'm going to talk about. We lost to the Philadelphia 76ers, 125-114. Again, Trae Young isn't in this particular game. Bogey had 20 on 7 of 17 shooting, that's 41%. Bay 16 on 6 of 20 shooting, that's 30%. Hunter had 24. He had a good game, 50% shooting. DJ had 20 on 7 of 17 shooting, though, 41%. Clint had 15 and 16. 10 offensive rebounds, 15 points. 125-114 was the final score. O had 7 points, 8 boards. Maxey had 30. Joel Embiid had 38. Who was guarding those guys? Philly had 48 points in the paint, 17 second chance points, 17 fast break points. What happened? I don't understand it. With all these losses, why did any of these losses happen? Like, truthfully, I want someone to explain that since Trae Young didn't play, Trae Young is the hindrance of why the whole team can't stop nobody in 2023. What's the excuse when he ain't playing? Remember, the Hawks lost 21 games last year by 7 points or less. And in the 8 games that I reviewed of 2023, 3 of those losses were within those 7. The 6-point loss in double overtime to Miami Heat, the 3-point loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the 1-point loss to the Charlotte Hornets was just the worst one because going into that fourth quarter, we had a 92-77 lead. That was Trae Young's first game back from injury. He went 5 of 5 from the field. He had like 10, 11 assists, whatever, and then they sat him. And the Hornets went from having 77 points to 115 points, and y'all want to try to blame Trae Young. Weird. But this is why I do these reviews. And this is why I break everything down the way that I do, to give you a little bit more of a perspective of what actually happened rather than what you think happened, because that matters a little bit. It matters a lot. Okay, I'm not trying to downplay it, but you know, when Trae is not on the floor and you got other people shooting bad, and you don't want to talk about those people shooting bad, or you have Trae Young not on the floor and you got people giving up tons of points because they won't block out, they won't find their man during the possession, they turn their back to their man, they're standing in the paint, kind of like what Luka did the other night, last night or whatever. You won't fight through a screen. You won't call out the screen. You won't rotate to the open man. You won't contest shots, and you won't get back on defense. You won't stop the ball on a fast break. This is every game, and I show it to y'all, and I don't hear nothing from nobody. Just put it on Trae Young, though. It doesn't matter if Trae Young has 35 and 15. It doesn't matter. None of that matters at all. None of that matters that he's a league leader in points assisted or combined points and assists and all that. None of that matters how much he contributes to the team and the stuff that he does do. Nobody else is fallible. Nobody else makes any errors. Nobody else is imperfect. Nobody. It's just Trae. And that's obscene to say that. Well, you know it's not true, especially what I just read off earlier in the night. Of all the things that Trae Young has done in this league in 6 seasons as an NBA player. He's a dominant player. Don't care what you say. Because none of y'all was talking about percentages when Dominique was going through his career. Y'all weren't talking about no percentages in the playoffs. All y'all saw was Dominique yanking on everybody and trying to get his team over the hump by scoring 40 points a game sometimes. So is Trae really unnecessary? Because if he's unnecessary, Dominique was unnecessary as well. You got to say it. But I don't think you can say that, though, or at least you don't want to, right? So one thing I added to my game reviews very recently was a new feature. How many shots that are created by Trae don't go in the basket? Because we know Trae is averaging 10 or 11 assists a game, right? But is Trae only passing the ball 10 or 11 times a night? He's not, is he? Have you ever thought about that? And I don't even remember why I even thought about it. I don't know if it came up in the conversation. I don't know if it was a clip that I saw or whatever. But one day I just said, you know what? I'm curious. Let me go back on this game and let me just go and see how many passes from Trae Young didn't go in the basket. So I started with game 5 of this season, the Washington Wizards game, right? And I went back and looked. Now, at the time when I did this, Trae was leading the league in points created for their teams at 178. James Harden was 2 and Joker was 3rd. I know there's some changes since then or whatever, but I mean, dang, that's messed up. He was leading the league and is a league leader, obviously, every game because he's averaging 25 and 11 every night. By default, he's a league leader in that, right? And I said, and I'm going to jump real quick, 2018 Summer League, I said, Trae Young is trying to get us 20 assists a game. He is trying to pass the ball to everybody, hit your shots. I said that long time ago. But in this particular game, by the way, Trae Young is currently first in potential assists per game with 20.5 in the NBA. So that's potential assists. He should be getting 20 assists a game. There it is right there. That's on NBA.com. I looked it up. He's second in points from assists per game at 27.5. He's behind Joker. So is Trae the problem? By that right there, he can't be by default. How is it his fault that people are missing shots? How is that his fault? There's a lot of points we leave on the board. I'm about to tell y'all now. So in this Wizards game, and actually in the review, if you go and watch on the IMTN Worldwide Radio page for Around the ATL, Game 5 against the Wizards, I actually show you some of those shots. I normally only do the defense, but in this, since I added it, I think I'm doing it by quarter. I can't remember, but I show you some of the wide open shots that were missed. But some of them are dunks, some of them are layups, and some of them are wide open threes. No, I do not expect them to hit every shot for 100%. But you can't hit 40% though? Like, this is a lot of points we're talking about. So, for instance, Roddy had 2 threes that he missed. JJ had an alley-oop block and then missed a wide open 3. That's for 5 points. Roddy had 6. Zach, layup, 2 points. Clint, layup, 2 points. Okongwu, wide open 3 points. That was just the first quarter of that game. That's 18 points on 7 passes. 18 points? The next quarter, Okongwu, wide open 3. Another 3, 6 points. Garrison, wide open 3 points. Zach, wide open 3, wide open 3, 6 more points. That was the second quarter. 15 more points on 6 passes that we didn't get. How's that Trae's fault? That's 33 points on 13 passes at halftime of Trae passing the ball to everybody. Clint gets blocked by Sarr. That's 2 points. 35 points on 14 passes didn't go in. If we just get half of that, we win that game. Maybe even a third, we win that game. Trae should have had 29 assists in that game. 29. He's passing it enough to get 29 assists. That's a lot of passing in the game, isn't it? Don't you agree with that? I think you can agree with that, right? What if he didn't pass? What if he just decided, I'm not passing y'all the ball no more. I'm going to just score 70 points a game. Because remember, in this game, he had 35 and 12, I think. Right? Let's see. Yeah, 35 and 15, my bad. He had 35 points and 15 assists in this game. And he passed it enough to get 35 more points to his teammates. He passed the ball 32 times in this game. 32 times he passed the ball in this game. That's a lot, guys. The Kings game was the next game I had did. Okay. And in that game, we should have had 152 points. Why do I say that? Because we left 39 points on the board. We left 39 freaking points on the board in that Kings game, guys. I'll review it with you. And he had 12 assists in this game, by the way. Did he pass the ball just 12 times for 12 assists? No, he did not. Capella missed dunk. Then he got blocked. That was in the fourth quarter, by the way. That's 4 points. Zach got blocked. Then he missed a 3. Then he missed a layup. Then he missed another 3. That's 10 points. Nance missed a dunk. That's 2 points. JJ, wide open 3. Wide open 3. Wide open 3. That's 9 points. Roddy, wide open 3. Air ball, 3. Layup, fourth quarter. That's 2 points. That's 8 points right there from Roddy. Okongwu, wide open 3. Wallace, wide open 3. That was in the fourth quarter. That's 3. There was 10 points in that fourth quarter off of passes from Trae that we didn't get. If we just had that, we win the game 125 to 123. That's just the fourth quarter. We left 39 points on 16 passes. Trae was 8 for 21 in that game, 3 of 9 from 3. He had 12 assists. He had 25 points. What if he just stopped passing? What if we took his points away? What if we took what he did away? If you take his points away, the Hawks only scored 98. You take his 12 assists away, at minimum 2 points of an assist, that's 24 points. The Hawks only scored 74 points. We get blown out 123 to 74. You sure Trae is not necessary? Because JJ was 4 of 10 in that game for 14. Zach was 1 of 9 in that game for 3 points. And Nance only had 2 points. Garrison was 8 of 15 for 23 points, thankfully. And Clint had 15. Are you sure Trae Young is not necessary? I want you to answer. Trae Young should have had 28 assists in that Kings game. Or Trae Young should stop passing and just shoot and try to score 60 points every game. He could at least average 40 because he goes to the free throw line, right? Hits a couple of threes, goes to the free throw line, and he doubles his shot attempts. So let's talk that Chicago game, the Chicago game before the Boston win. And again, I'm asking, are you really trying to tell me that players are not playing as hard, or they're not going to play no defense, or they're missing shots on purpose with Trae Young on the floor? Because that's what you have to convince me of at a certain point. To say, oh, well, here's a game without Trae Young, and it seems that everybody's playing harder and more emotion and all that kind of crap. Meanwhile, you got Trae cheering on his teammates, and you got his teammates cheering him on because they're teammates. He ain't on the floor. Well, let's talk that Chicago game. First quarter, Trae to Zach for 3, miss. Trae to Capella for a layup, miss. Trae to Zach for another 3, miss. That was first quarter. Second quarter, Trae to Capella, layup, miss. 2 points. Third quarter, Trae to Zach for a layup, 2 points, miss. Trae to Zach for a 3, miss. Fourth quarter, Trae to JJ for a layup, miss. 2 points. Trae to JJ for a 3, miss. Trae to Dyson for a layup, miss. That's 2 points. Trae to Zach for a 3. That's 25 points on 10 passes that didn't go in. We lost this game. Trae had 16 assists in this game. He was doing nothing but passing the ball. He passed the ball 32 times in this game. The Hawks lost the game 125 to 113. We left 25 points on the board. So are we saying that the Hawks we're not going to hit these shots? Because out of those 10 passes, 5 of them were 3-pointers and 5 of them were layups. What are we talking about? Are we going to that route? Because that's what you have to almost convince me. We left 25 points on the board, guys. Maybe he should have just shot it 32 times instead of passing it 32 times. How about that? Right? Some of these shots were point blank. Almost all of these shots were wide open. Like wide open. Like when wide open is wide open, you got to hit those, don't you? That's what they say. That's what they say to me on the court when I'm playing. Man, you better hit that, Chris. That's what they say. They try to get in your head and stuff. You wide open and stuff like that. But me, I can actually hit the shot. I can actually hit the shot. I can hit it often. If you leave me open, I'm dangerous. Because I can shoot. I just don't shoot. I choose not to shoot as much because I look to pass the ball to my teammates because I want to win. I ain't trying to shoot out my teammates. But if I'm open, if I decide to come out the paint because maybe I got another post player where I don't have to be in the paint the whole night, I might shoot. I'm gonna shoot a little bit tonight. I'm coming around the corner. They set me a screen. I can hit. By the way, let's just take all of that out of the way. Okay. Right? The 25 points that we left on the board with the Chicago Bulls. But what about we want to take Trae out of the equation? What about the 23 fast break points we gave up to the Bulls? What about the 54 points in the paint that we gave up to the Bulls? And what about the 17 second chance points that we gave up to the Bulls as well? All that is also on Trae Young. The Bulls also were 20 of 23 from 3 in this game. And who let Ayo get 19 points off the bench? Why did Vucevic have 18 points? You see what I'm saying? It always comes back down to it. The whole team failed, not just one player. So when you go from a game to a game situation, the audacity to try to put that on Trae as far as how a team plays different is stupid. It's idiotic, and it's just wrong. Because the tape and the results tell you different. I just told you we left 25 points on the board from passes from Trae Young of him trying to get his teammates the ball even more than the assists he already had. He had 16 assists in this game, and he's still passing the ball. Ain't that a little bit amazing to anybody? That's how much he's passing the ball. He's passing the ball enough to literally average 25 assists a game in the NBA. That's how much he's passing the ball. If anybody hit their shots enough, that's what would be happening, which goes back to earlier roster configuration. Why can't we have better players to be able to finish better at the hoop, like a 5 that could do that better than the 5 that we have now? Sorry, Clint, you can't finish. I'm sorry. We needed him to hit 3 or 4 threes the other night. He's hitting 73% from the year, but in that game, he was not that. So, again, if we want to, pick and pop certain things about certain teams and players and things of that nature, I just went over 2023 and showed you really not great percentages from players that y'all don't say nothing about. Y'all don't care that people are shooting 30% unless it's Trae. But what about all these other players? And it's several players. Hunter, Bogey, DJ, Clint. What about them? Getting 10 offensive rebounds and you still end up with not that many points? Or why are you giving up all these points in the paint? And Trae is not even in the game. Why are we giving up all these fast break points? We were 28th last year in fast break points given up. Why are we giving up? We were giving up 14 threes a game last year. We're giving up 17 threes a game this year. That's horrible. We're giving up 42 three-point attempts this year, average, at 40%. That's why we're losing. We did beat the Pelicans, though, didn't we? I think Trae had 23 and 12 in that game. And JJ had 29 and 8 assists and 9 boards. And Dyson had 16 in that game. And Clint had 8 points and 4 boards in that game. We won it, though, right? Trae had 38 and 10 against the Hornets. We won that game. Hunter had 24 in that game that he did play. And Clint had 6 points again and 7 rebounds. And Dyson had 18 and JJ had 16. And the Hawks did beat the Nets. And Trae had 30 and 12. JJ had 11 and 10, and Clint had 6 points again and 7 rebounds, and Dyson had 15, and Hunter had 12. I think Trae was a little bit necessary in the wins we did get so far. Just a little bit. But again, this is why I'm doing the reviews. This is why I do game for game on everybody, because it's not a one-man show. Everybody has to be participatory. Everybody wins, everybody loses. Everybody wins, everybody loses. I've never lost or won a game by myself ever in life. I've been playing 40 years. And I'm planning to play 40 more if I can. There's a lot of stuff that happens on the court to win or lose a game. That's why I do my Sunday night basketball videos to say, here's some real life experience. Here's the reason we lost this game, because we didn't rotate. Or we didn't ever call screens out, and we kept getting picked off, and we kept giving up wide open shots, and we couldn't come back. We got down too quick, right? Or we didn't get back down on defense. We didn't call out assignments. Sometimes you ain't going to get back on defense, but at least call out someone to say, hey, pick up my man. I got yours. We won't even do that as a professional basketball team as a Hawks. We don't talk at all on defense, so nobody knows where they want to be. And sometimes people know where they're supposed to be, but because somebody else don't know and nobody talks, they have to assume stuff, and that's when we create mismatches. And or you got people who just won't do what they're supposed to do. Garrison loves just standing in the paint 30 feet away from his man. He creates mismatches more so than anybody, as does Bogey. Bogey never stays with his man. He never stays with his assignment. And as I like to always say, pointing is not defense. Let me post this real quick just so y'all can see what I do. So first of all, you got to have prod on defense, right? Where am I at? I'm almost done. You got to stop the ball on fast break, right? You got to rotate to the open man, right? And then when you rotate to that man, you got to contest the shot. We got so many times where people they don't put their hands up. They're flat-footed. They're not jumping. They don't care what you're going to shoot this ball. I'm going to just watch it go in. And that's what we do. We don't block out. We don't never know where our man is when the ball is in the air. That's kind of embarrassing. We don't stay with our assignment. I mentioned that before. Again, we don't talk on defense. Again, we don't get back on defense. And we always are over helping, mostly because we don't know what to do. We don't, hey, stay with your man. Hey, switch. They'll eliminate half of our crap and we won't do it. We can't do it. This is so embarrassing. And I show it on video. Nobody ever says anything. But that's why I started doing these videos on the games, using the game footage, because that's what counts. What actually happened in the game, not what you speculate happened, not what you wish happened, what had happened was. No, I'm showing you shot for shot how the other team scored on us. Because that matters. And again, the moment people start recognizing that it is actually a team game, I think the chatter will get better. When you recognize that one person can't be the person that you try to lay all the blame on, things will get better, especially when he's the best player on the team. And it's not even close. It's not even close. Trae will be the next Hawk to get a statue if he plays here long enough. And technically, he should probably get one anyway, but that's a whole nother story. But because he did get us to the Eastern Conference Finals. And as A1 said, if he didn't get hurt, we probably win the finals. Straight up. I don't know what that means. Best viewers on what? Oh, somebody's trying to tell me to, I guess, push my show on another page, I guess. I'll check it out. Appreciate that. Seasonal uncle. So let me wrap this up because it's at the 2-hour mark. I didn't plan to do more than this. So make sure I didn't miss anything. Again, one player doesn't allow one player does not allow 116 points in the game, 120 points in the game, 128 points in the game, 121 points in the game, 133 points in the game, or 111, or 123, 116, 122, 125, or 116. That's how many points we've given up as a team game for game. One person doesn't do that. It's impossible because there's more than one person on the floor. It is impossible. No matter what you say, it's impossible. A whole team contributes to that. If everybody does their jobs on a regular basis, you win more than you lose. When people don't do their jobs on a regular basis, you have a chance to lose more so than win. Because you can still win some of those games because you don't know what the other team is going to do. But don't leave it up to them. See, so many times teams dictate exactly what they want to do to us because they know we're not going to do the basics. And the NBA knows it, the coaching staffs know it, and the players know it now. The players know all they got to do is wide over here, and they're going to be wide open for a three. They're just waiting for the ball now. Because said player over here is just going to be ball watching. Their back is to their guy. And I've always said there is no reason for you to have your back to the person you're assigned to. Nothing good comes from that. We do it anyway. Except for that Knicks game. That Knicks game, it looked like we had a talking to about stuff. And it showed up for a moment. You know? And I said, oh, man, this is a breath of fresh air. Garrison's not standing in the paint. Clint is even coming out the paint to guard the three a little bit. Man, this is awesome. If it happens every game, but it doesn't. It doesn't. Again, you do not give up all the points by yourself. If everybody could just do what they do on a regular basis, we can win. And yeah, injuries happen and stuff. It's not been cool to see this. But when these players do come back, there's going to be an expectation we will be a much better team, and we'll hope for the best as far as that goes. We'll see. Again, I don't know what we're going to do as far as Hunter goes and the injury and everything like that. Again, Clint could still be on the deck. I still say maybe go ahead and get Ayton. Ayton's averaging 15 and 11. He comes here, he could probably average 18. He has 2 seasons averaging 18, which is more than any Hawk center since Al in his 1 season doing it. Remember, we have never had a center average 20 points a game in this season other than Moses Malone, which I aforementioned earlier in the show, right? That's it. Think about all the centers we've played in the East over the decades, and we've had one time in the 80s where we had one of our 5 average 20 points in the season. Y'all love some Keith Benson, though, huh? Priest Lardell, Hindu, Andrew Lane, Blair Rasmussen, rest in peace. Like, for real, come on, guys. What are we talking about here? You don't get rid of a player that has had the 6-year start that Trae Young has had in history. Better start than Jason Kidd, better start than Steve Nash, better start than CP3. Shoot, even Magic Johnson don't have a 25 and 10 career average. Ain't that something? That's something to say right there, but it's the truth. And again, no one's mad that Dominique didn't win a championship ring for the Hawks. Why didn't he? I know why, but for some people, I don't think they know why. If they're not getting mad at that, why are they getting mad at Trae Young in any kind of capacity? Dominique never even made it to an Eastern Conference final. Trae Young did that season 3, and the Hawks organization didn't do anything about it. They ain't on Trae. Trae don't run the organization like LeBron does, right? And Dominique played 12 years for the Hawks. Trae is just going into his 7th season with the Hawks. But yet, look at everything he has done as a Hawk, as a representative of the team that you say that you go with. But y'all want to get rid of him. And y'all want to replace him with someone who doesn't really have an NBA average yet. See, that right there just doesn't make any sense. When I tell you he's passing the ball 25 to 30 times plus a game, hoping people hit their shots and still passing even though they're not hitting, which is the only reason he goes out and starts trying to score. Trae Young happens to be able to score, but he is a passer. Oh, I just saw something that I did not do. He's a passer. He's trying to pass the ball to everybody. But he can score, and he will score when he has to. And he's done that a lot for the Hawks. Philly, again, they went out and got, PG-13 and, it hadn't worked. They had gotten Harden, didn't work necessarily, but they tried. Toronto, they got them a pretty good team together, and then went and got the Claw, Kawhi Leonard, and they won them a ring because of it. The Bucks, we know they made a stupid decision to get Doc, but they went and got Dame. Pacers went and got Siakam. Magic, look at what they've done over the last few years. And then they went and got KCP, who's a true 3-and-D defender who can hit the 3, who killed us in that Denver game last year. By the way, it was his fault that he was hitting all those 3s on us. They hit 23 3s on us, 56% from 3, that Denver game. Go watch it. I showed it to you. It's disgusting. It's humiliating, really. Once the ownership decides that they really want to win a championship here in Atlanta, we'll see some change. Management makes some wise decisions. Remember, ownership has to want to win. They really got to want to win. To win, it has to be inherent in them. You have to have management that makes wise decisions over a long period of time, not just one and done. It has to be year after year after year after year, decade after decade if you're that lucky. You have to have a good to great coach, you have to have good to great players, and you have to be healthy. How many years have the Atlanta Hawks experienced any of those 5 consecutively at the same time? Or even 4 out of 5? Good coach, good management, good ownership, good players, health. Health has messed us up so much, right? Al Horford going down with the pec thing, right? Hunter going down in the Eastern Conference in the 2020 season where we make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. If Hunter has been there, things might have been different, right? A little extra bonus there, right? Think about it. And even this year so far. Last year, think about last year. 28 games from Trae Young. Think about that. I think about the Dikembe and Mookie and Smitty years. They didn't do nothing to help them out the next season. Josh and Joe Johnson, Jay Smooth and them, right? Again, 12 years with Neek, the 60-win team, the current team. Like our organization has not done enough, and it's sad. It's messed up. And we keep paying for the tickets. We keep going. We watching on Bally's and now FanDuel. We listen to 92.9 The Game and Steve Holman. By the way, make sure you go listen to interviews with Steve Holman and Bob Rathman. Bob was on our show earlier this year before the season started. It was a great interview. Go watch it. But all of these, we all want the Hawks to win a championship. That's all. We're passionate about that. But to continue to try to oust the best player that we've had since Dominique and is going to end up being better than Dominique, it's crazy talk. It's crazy. It's crazy. You just don't replace someone like that and just think you're going to just get over on it. It won't be smart. It would be a complete disaster. Okay. So again, this is going to be the last time I talk about this particular subject as such. I'll just reference it from now on, just send the link or whatnot. But again, I believe this could be the first season where we can have something really cool happen positively. And I said that earlier in the show in regards to the lineups and everything, and how it is really proven just from that Boston game, the Knicks game, that we're not that far. We have the elements. Again, Zachary is going to be that dude. Dyson is the dude now on defense. We've needed that so long. We got to solidify the five a little bit, but we can get by. We can get by. JJ does his thing. Trae does his thing. We can get by with whatever Clinton ends up giving us off the bench. And if he continues to be steady and give him the actual minutes and just go ahead and start him and quit messing around, I think we can compete. I think we can compete now. I said it, we could be 6th seed. I said it this summer after all the moves were made. I said, if this is a team, and I went through everything, we could be 6th, at least. Didn't know the injuries were going to happen, but once we get everybody back, I feel that we can do it. We're right there. Okay. Again, Trae is not the one giving up all the points every night. I've proved that so many times it doesn't even make any sense anymore. But I'm going to keep proving it to show you that. And even if he is giving up all the points, someone else needs to stop somebody else then. At least he's evening his out on production side. I've always said that if you give up some points, you need to even it out. You can't be Clint and giving up 38 to Joel and you're scoring 8. That doesn't make any sense, does it? I need Clint to average 18 points every night. He has the capability of doing it. He just doesn't. That's a big deal. But also, I need him to not give up 38 points, too. Jeez. Crying out loud. Like, let's get it together here, guys. Like, for real, for real. So, again, is Trae Young really unnecessary? Answer that question. Again, we're going to see how the rest of this season goes. It's still early in the season. Like, some of y'all are acting like the season's over. Like, my goodness. Like, for real, like, the Eastern Conference right now, last I checked, is kind of wide open. Like, if this will catch up for me here. Y'all gonna make me do it the long way, huh? NBA.com. Here we go. The Cavs are undefeated. Wow, what happened? The site's going crazy. The Cavs are undefeated, 13-0. You know that. Boston is 10-3. They're second. Orlando is 7-6. The Knicks there's a two-way tie for the Knicks and the Pacers for 4 and 5, basically. The Bulls are 5 and 7. The Hawks are 5 and 7. The Brooklyn Nets are 5 and 7. So you got a three-way tie basically for 6 right now. You're kind of in it right now. We're not out of it. You see what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about? Why are we already doom and gloom when it's not that? you know. But anyway, hopefully you go and check out some of the shows, some of the episodes. If you like this morning format or the content or whatever, make sure you share it again with one other Hawks fan or an Atlanta Hawks sports fan. Make sure you go and check out the interviews. We've interviewed with Dominique Wilkins and, like I said, Bob Rathman that does the TV for the Hawks. Dominique's color commentator for the Hawks, obviously. Steve Holman's on 92.9 The Game. We had Jerome Jurinovich on, who used to host Atlanta Hawks and Braves live for 15 straight years. We've had Marvin Freeman from the Atlanta Braves on. We've had Angel McCaultrey from the Atlanta Dream on a few years ago. We've had the coach of the Dream, president of the Dream on the show. We've had a lot of different people as far as the interview side. So again, if you subscribe to IMTN Worldwide Radio, you'll see all of that. I did post a lot of shows in the comment section. So when you get to that part, you can go back and check out some of those shows. Again, though, make sure you can follow on, why is this doing? I got to erase that one. Follow on Facebook and Instagram, IMTN Worldwide Radio. You can follow me on Twitter. Where is it at? Right there. Intellect ATL. My co-host, Jordan Jackson, Jordan23 ATL. Again, Jordan hadn't been able to join me a lot. He's helping his mom as she battles cancer right now. So make sure you keep that family in your prayers. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Again, I didn't anticipate going over a little bit on time, but that's cool. But hopefully I did enough to at least make you appreciate the fact that it's not one person. It can't be. I showed you that, right? But I've also shown you the game footage to show you that. I also shown you how much Trae is passing the ball and people are just not hitting shots. He can't be blamed for people missing shots. They're wide open. They're layups. You can't blame a point guard for wanting to pass the ball 30 times a night. Like, that's absurd that's the thought process from some people out there. That's why I get mad. It's absurd to not want to blame people for not doing their jobs defensively when it's their job to stop that one person. The play-in game against Chicago, why does DeRozan have 22 and why does Vucevic have 24? Trae Young don't play neither of those guys. And he didn't give up the 42 points to Kobe White. So what are we talking about? That's three different players right there. Trae Young plays three people at the same time on the court? That's just strange. What kind of futuristic basketball is that? I used to do that when I played 21. You're playing against everybody playing 21. The NBA is not a game of 21, though, is it? No. So stop blaming Trae Young for stuff that ain't blamable. If he gives up a point here and a point there, he's going to do that, one, because of his stature, and sometimes he does miss out on defense, just like all of our players do. But he's not the one doing it the most. He's not the worst defensive player on our team, guys. He just isn't. And I've proved that by game film. So instead of trying to blame Trae Young, put your attention to everybody. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to attack. But if you just look at what actually is happening, you'll have a different opinion just by default, because the game is the game. The game never changes. Doesn't matter what level, doesn't matter how much money. You got to do those basic things, and we don't do that enough as a team. And the few times that we do, we usually win. But when you got a player who's so unselfish to say, no matter what, I'm trying to pass the ball almost twice as many times as I shoot. Somebody got to hit those shots a little bit. We should be winning these games going away. And these games are too close because we're missing wide open jumpers all the time. Like, something has to happen there. We got to get some other people to hit some of these shots if that's the case. I mean, it is what it is. Or we need to get a couple more people who can stop some points, whether it be in the paint, whether it be on the perimeter, one or the two. Right? Everybody has to do their job. Whatever your job is, do that job. And then you got your secondary and your third job and your fourth job. But your main job, if you're a passer, pass. If you're a shooter, shoot. If you're a block shotter, that's not a word, block the shot. Rebounder, we need as many defensive rebounds as we can get. We give up too many points in the paint. But then we don't get up to the perimeter and we give up too many threes. We got to stop both. But we definitely got to stop one of the two because we're getting killed. We're giving up 17 threes a game. That's too much. You can't win sustainably like that. You just can't. You can't give up 23 threes in a game multiple times in the season. We gave up 150 points to the same team twice last year, to the Pacers, guys. We can't be doing that again this year. Hopefully we don't, right? That's my point. Who gave up 157 points in game 82 last year? I show y'all. Go check that game out too. It's an interesting game to watch, okay? Kind of frustrating too. But anyway, guys, let me go ahead and get this outro out. Y'all take care. Have a good morning. Have a good weekend. If I don't see y'all again, it's going to be a while, I know. But hopefully I will catch up on game reviews. There's a lot of stuff been going on, which I haven't been able to do game reviews. But I wanted to do this one because it was important. Just to go over everything in regards to Trae Young. And is he unnecessary or not? I believe he's very necessary, and we should all want him to be here because he wants to be here. Until the moment he says he don't want to be here, we need to make sure he stays here. We're better with him than without. The overall record shows that 28-33. Again, we are not 61-0 without Trae Young. Then you would have an argument, right? That'd be the only way you'd have an argument. But you don't. So let's get off of that and let's see, can everybody else do their job just a little bit better and see if we can get much better to get to the point of playoffs regularly, Eastern Conference Finals regularly, finals appearances, and finally have that parade on Peachtree. But some of y'all don't want to win in Atlanta, and I know some of y'all are betting that we're not going to even get into the playoffs and not going to be the certain seeds and all that. You want to be against the Hawks, that's fine. I ain't participating in that. I'm sorry, I'm just not, right? And you won't be able to be at the Peachtree Street Parade either. Remember that. Don't show up because you didn't want it to happen. I want to see the Hawks win a championship. I'm getting old. You know, I wish my dad was around to see it happen. He passed away from cancer himself. So I want to see the Hawks win a championship. And I believe Trae Young is going to be the one to help us get there, along with the rest of these guys here. This young group of guys, you know, I think is going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be this year. Could be. And some of y'all don't even want to hope that it's this year. Y'all will be, oh, man, it can't happen, man. You crazy and stuff. Why am I crazy for hoping my team wins a championship? You see why fans of Atlanta have the reputation that they do? That's messed up. Because until you're eliminated from the playoffs, you got a chance to be in the playoffs. What? I just had to say that real quick because it just makes me so mad. But anyway, let me play my outro real quick. Y'all take care. Make sure you share the show, and I'll talk to y'all again soon. This is Chris on IMTN Worldwide Radio. This was Around the ATL. Is Trae really unnecessary? My answer is he's very necessary, but what do you think? Talk to y'all later. Peace.